Welcome to Jam Packed, Business Made Easy with AI. My name is Robin Anderson, and I'm the CEO of Jam AI. At Jam AI, we have a community where we are training thousands of small business owners every week on how to use applicable and everyday AI. In this podcast, we're focusing on the human side of AI. We're interviewing members of our community and understanding how they're using AI to save more time and make more money. We also practice what we preach. Every Monday, we're generating a podcast from our AI agent. You're going to love it. We have way too much content and not enough time to record, so it's helping us get this information to you. Well, buckle up, take some notes, and listen to what we're about to tell you. And if you want to know more, you can join us free for 7 days in Club Jam by going to jamout.ai for more information.
So right now, you're likely paying for some of the most advanced technology in human history.
Yep.
I mean, you have access to artificial intelligence that can write complex code, analyze massive data sets, and, generate high-res art in a matter of seconds.
It's honestly incredible.
It really is. But I have a question for you. Why is your physical desk still covered in half-written sticky notes?
Right.
Why do you have, 37 browser tabs open right now, and why do you feel more behind and disorganized than you did before all these miracle tools even existed?
Yeah, it's the ultimate modern paradox. We've handed people the equivalent of a supercomputer, promised them it would save them dozens of hours a week, and instead...
Or just drowning?
Exactly. We're seeing a massive spike in digital clutter and cognitive overload. The technology is phenomenal, obviously, but the application is leaving people completely paralyzed.
Which is exactly why we're doing this. Welcome to today's Deep Dive, where we are dedicated to fixing exactly that.
Let's get into it.
We are unpacking a really comprehensive stack of sources on how to build real functional AI systems. So whether you're a small business owner trying to keep your head above water, an entrepreneur juggling a dozen projects, or just someone who feels buried under an avalanche of daily tasks, our mission today is to cut through all that noise.
And really move you away from that chaotic, reactive tool usage.
Exactly. We want to give you your time and, frankly, your sanity back.
And to do that, we really have to reframe the core problem first. Because the overwhelming consensus in the material we're analyzing today is that your bottleneck is not a lack of tools.
Right. You probably already have ChatGPT Plus.
Yeah, or you use Notion, or you've dabbled in a dozen other apps. The actual issue is a complete lack of repeatable workflows. We have to transition from the illusion of productivity into actual structured control.
Wait, hold on, though. I need to push back on that right out of the gate.
Sure.
Because the whole initial appeal of tools like ChatGPT was that I didn't need a rigid workflow anymore, right?
I hear that a lot, yeah.
The marketing pitch was literally just talk to it naturally, like a human. So are you saying we have to go back to building, rigid spreadsheets and complex flowcharts just to use the thing that was supposed to free us from all of that?
No, not at all. But there's a massive difference between having a casual conversation and running an actual system. What you're describing is what the research categorizes as casual AI use.
Okay, casual use.
Right. Casual use is when you treat the AI like a glorified party trick or just a slightly smarter search engine.
Yeah.
You drop in, ask it a random question, maybe have it write a quick email, and then you leave. You are basically starting from scratch every single time.
Oh, so, okay. Is casual AI use basically like buying a bunch of fancy, expensive ingredients, but having absolutely no recipe?
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Like you have all the potential for a great meal, but you end up just staring at the open fridge.
Exactly. Or, to put it in a business context, it's like having an eager but totally amnesiac intern.
Amnesiac intern.
Yeah, they're super smart. They work incredibly fast, but every single morning they walk into the office with zero memory of who you are, what your business does, or what you even talked about yesterday.
So you spend more time explaining the context of what you need than you would if you just did the work yourself.
Right. And what's fascinating here is that the constant explaining is what drains you. An AI system, by contrast, is a structured, repeatable environment. The AI actively supports your thinking and planning without needing that daily history lesson.
Because the environment is already set up.
Yes. It captures your inputs and processes them automatically, which fundamentally shifts AI from a flashy novelty into a dependable second brain that actually manages your cognitive load.
Okay, let's unpack that term cognitive load.
Yeah.
Because I hear that thrown around a lot in productivity circles right now.
It's definitely a buzzword.
What does managing it actually mean in the context of, like, my Tuesday morning?
So cognitive load is essentially the amount of working memory your brain is using at any given moment. When you don't have a system, your brain is burning energy just trying to remember what you need to do, where you save that document, and how you're supposed to instruct the AI to help you.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It really is. A system offloads all of that friction. You aren't waking up and burning mental energy asking, how should I use AI today? You just execute a familiar process where the AI is already baked into the steps.
Okay, that makes total sense. We're moving from the amnesiac intern to a structured workflow. But let's get out of the abstract here.
Sure, let's look at the architecture.
Yeah, when we look at the architecture of a functional AI workflow, it essentially rests on 4 main pillars, right?
According to the sources, yes.
So rather than just listing them off, let's look at how they actually connect in the gritty reality of business week. Let's start with the genesis of any project. The ideas.
Right. So the first pillar is the content system. Think about how most people create. You have a random thought in the shower, or maybe you record a voice memo in the car while you're stuck in traffic.
And usually, those ideas just die on your phone.
Exactly. A content system is a specific pipeline. Mechanically, it means you have a designated place where you dump those raw, unstructured thoughts. And then the AI is programmed with a specific prompt to take your rambling voice memo, extract the core thesis, outline it, and draft it into a usable format.
Like a newsletter or a blog post or something.
Excellent.
So the AI acts as the bridge between random thought and usable asset.
Yep.
But once you have that idea fleshed out, you actually have to build the thing. Which brings us to the second hurdle. And the second pillar, task and project management.
This is where most people get stuck.
Oh, for sure. Let's say that content idea was for a massive new product launch. The psychological friction of looking at a to-do list with a single goal called launch new product, that's usually what causes people to just open another browser tab and procrastinate.
Because the goal is way too big for your working memory to process all at once. This is where the project management system kicks in. You take that massive, intimidating goal, feed it into your AI workflow, and ask it to break it down. But, and this is key, you don't just ask for a generic list. You give it your constraints.
What do you mean by constraints?
You tell it, I have 2 hours a day to work on this, and the deadline is in 3 weeks. The AI mechanically processes those variables and generates a daily step-by-step checklist.
So it completely removes the friction of figuring out what step 1 even is?
Precisely.
Okay, so now you have your content, and you have your step-by-step project plan. The project is actually moving, but the moment you start executing, you hit the third wall.
Yeah, other people. Yes, communication.
The third pillar. And this isn't just about having an AI draft a polite response to a networking request on LinkedIn. I'm talking about those nightmare scenarios.
The endless threads.
Yes, like a 14-deep email chain from a disgruntled vendor who keeps changing the delivery dates, copying different managers, and burying the actual problem in corporate jargon.
Those threads are massive time sinks because you have to read them like 3 times just to find the actual action item.
Yeah, exactly.
In a communication system, your workflow dictates that you don't read that thread manually. You feed the entire transcript into the AI with a specific directive. Summarize the timeline changes in this thread, identify who is currently holding up the process, and draft a firm but professional response requesting immediate clarification.
Wow.
You are using the AI to extract decisions from the noise.
I can literally feel my blood pressure dropping just thinking about doing that.
It's incredibly freeing.
But this brings up a huge logistical question, which leads to our fourth pillar. Where does all of this live?
All right, the hub.
Yeah, you've got content drafts, project timelines, vendor email summaries. The guide we are unpacking today calls this the second brain.
The second brain, yes.
A central hub for all your notes, your ideas, and your standard operating procedures. And tools like Notion are positioned as the hub, with ChatGPT doing the daily thinking and maybe ClickUp handling the heavy-duty team tracking. But I have to stop you here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Setting up a beautiful, color-coded second brain in Notion sounds amazing in theory. I've watched the YouTube tutorials. They look pristine.
They always do.
But how do we prevent this from just becoming a massive digital junk drawer? Because I know so many people who meticulously save articles, summarize media notes, tag them beautifully, and then they literally never look at them again.
Yep, it's just digital hoarding.
Exactly. They're just hoarding files to feel productive.
That is the exact point of failure for like 90% of organizational systems. A repository of information is entirely useless if you cannot retrieve and synthesize that information effortlessly.
Right.
If you have to manually dig through your own folders to find that one good idea you had 3 months ago, the system has failed. You're back to burning cognitive energy.
So how do we fix that?
Well, this naturally leads us to the ultimate tool highlighted in the research for solving this exact problem.
Yes, the secret weapon.
Yeah.
This is where the entire ecosystem we've been talking about suddenly clicks into place. We need to talk about NotebookLM.
NotebookLM represents a fundamental mechanical shift in how we interact with large language models. To understand why it's so powerful, you have to understand the underlying architecture of a standard AI versus a closed system.
Okay, break that down for us.
When you use a typical AI chatbot, you are talking to a model trained on the open internet. It has ingested millions of random websites, Reddit threads, Wikipedia articles.
Which is why it sometimes hallucinates or makes up facts, right?
Exactly.
Because it's just predicting the next most likely word based on the entire chaos of the internet.
It's trying to please you by guessing what a good answer looks like, drawing from absolutely everywhere. But NotebookLM operates on a closed corpus.
A closed corpus.
Yes. It works strictly from the documents you upload. You feed it your PDFs, your meeting transcripts, your Google Docs, and you effectively put blinders on the AI. It cannot search the web. It only knows the reality you provide it.
Oh, wow. So we've taken the amnesiac intern, and instead of letting them guess the answers by Googling them, we've locked them in a room with only our company's filing cabinets and said, only answer my questions using what is in these specific folders.
That is a brilliant analogy. And because it restricts the data diet, the AI becomes deeply grounded in your specific context.
It doesn't hallucinate outside facts.
Exactly. It just organizes, summarizes, and connects the dots across your own chaotic information. And there are 4 specific workflows for NotebookLM that the guide outlines, and they really illustrate how this changes your daily operation.
Okay, let's walk through them. Workflow 1 is the brain dump to organize plan.
Right.
We talked earlier about those voice memos you record in the car while stuck in traffic. Let's say you have 5 of those in the past week, plus a bunch of messy bulleted notes from a client call.
The usual mess.
Yeah, you upload all of that raw, ugly text into NotebookLM. And the prompt you use isn't write a blog post. The prompt is organize this into categories, priorities, and next steps.
Notice the shift in effort there.
Yeah.
You aren't forcing yourself to sit down and categorize your thoughts. You are treating the AI as a processing engine. You capture the mess, the system structures it.
Then workflow 2 is where it gets slightly magical, in my opinion. It's the multi-doc summary.
This one is huge.
Let's say you're preparing for a massive quarterly review. You upload your meeting notes from Monday, a strategic planning document from 6 months ago, and an email chain with your lead developer. You ask NotebookLM, what are the key themes and recurring bottlenecks across all of these documents?
Mechanically, what the AI is doing here is vector search. It's mapping the semantic meaning of your words across different files and finding intersections. It acts as a synthesizer. It might connect a passing comment you made to a client on Monday with a strategic goal you completely forgot you wrote down 6 months ago. It finds patterns you missed because you were too deep in the day-to-day weeds to see the big picture.
That's incredible. And then we have workflow 3, which is the content engine.
Yeah.
This is crucial for anyone trying to build a brand without sounding like a robot. You upload your past successful content, the blogs you actually wrote, the emails that had high open rates. You tell the AI, based strictly on the tone and style of these documents, turn this new bulleted idea into 3 social posts and a video script.
Which completely solves the authenticity problem. The AI isn't pulling generic marketing speak from the internet. It is mimicking your exact cadence, your vocabulary, and your humor. You're scaling your own voice.
And finally, workflow 4, the strategy assistant. I will admit, this one fundamentally changed how I view AI.
It's a game changer.
You upload your business plan, your current project timelines, and your recent meeting notes. And then you ask the AI a highly provocative question. What am I missing based on this information? Where are the gaps, or where am I contradicting myself?
It's acting like a tenured chief of staff.
Oh, wait, no. It's actually better than that.
Yeah.
A chief of staff might be afraid to offend you.
That's true.
The AI has absolutely no ego. It politely sits you down, looks at your chaotic diaries, and says, Well, you stated your primary goal for Q3 was increasing revenue by 20%, but I noticed that 90% of your meeting notes and task allocations are entirely focused on redesigning the website logo. You are fundamentally misaligned.
This is why the strategy assistant workflow is so vital. We hear so much fear that relying on AI will make us lazy, that it will do our thinking for us and we'll lose our edge.
Right, that we'll just turn our brains off.
But in this specific setup, the AI is forcing critical thinking. It acts as an objective mirror. It isn't generating generic ideas for you. It is interrogating your own logic. It holds you accountable to the ideas you've already claimed are important.
It basically calls you out on your own nonsense.
Exactly.
Okay, so hearing all of this, the transition from scattered sticky notes to a hyper-intelligent digital chief of staff sounds incredibly appealing.
Of course.
But if someone is listening to this in their car right now or while doing the dishes, they might also be feeling entirely overwhelmed by the prospect of setting this up.
Yeah.
How do we actually build this architecture without falling right back into the trap of buying 5 new app subscriptions and drowning in tutorials?
The guidance here is extremely explicit, and it all comes down to a concept called the simple system to start with.
Okay.
The golden rule is this: choose one tool, choose one single use case, and use it consistently for just 10 minutes a day. Do not try to build the content system, the project manager, and the second brain all in the same week.
And the recommendation is to actually start with daily planning, right? Not the big strategy stuff, just the daily schedule.
Yes, they provide a very specific prompt for this. You open your tool, let's say it's ChatGPT, and you give it your raw to-do list for the day.
Okay.
Your prompt is, organize my tasks by priority, factor in my 2 hours of meetings this afternoon, and create a realistic schedule that leaves room for breaks. You do that every single morning. That is your 10-minute commitment.
I'm going to be the proxy for the skeptical listener here.
Please do.
10 minutes a day sounds ridiculously easy, almost too easy. If someone's business is a chaotic mess of missed deadlines and scattered files, is a 10-minute daily schedule prompt really going to fix anything? Aren't people just going to try this for 3 days, realize their revenue hasn't doubled, and abandon the whole thing?
That skepticism is entirely valid, but it misunderstands the goal of the 10 minutes.
How so?
The 10 minutes isn't about solving your company's deepest systemic flaws in a week. It is a behavioral psychology tactic. You are building the muscle of the repeatable workflow. When people fail at organizing, it's usually because of tool overload and expecting instant macro-level results from micro-level changes.
So it's really about proving to your own brain that the system is trustworthy.
Precisely. If you try to hand over your entire business strategy to an AI on day one, the friction will be too high. You won't trust the output, you won't know how to prompt it correctly, and you will just get frustrated. By spending 10 minutes a day just managing your schedule, you learn how the AI responds to your context.
Which brings up a really crucial point about context. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they try to use AI for planning is giving it zero raw material.
Oh, absolutely.
If you sit down and just plan my Tuesday, the AI is going to spit out a generic, useless list. You have to feed the machine.
You have to give it parameters.
Right. You have to tell it, I'm a night owl. I hate doing finance tasks. I have a hard stop at 4 p.m. to pick up my kids, and my number one priority is finishing this client proposal. The recipe only works if you provide the ingredients.
Context is the engine of an AI system. The technology is not a magic wand that organizes your life by reading your mind. It is a processing tool that structures the reality you share with it. If a tool is adding stress to your day because you're constantly fighting with its outputs, it's not functioning as a system yet. It usually means you haven't provided enough constraints.
So bringing all these threads together, the ultimate takeaway from our deep dive today is a radical shift in perspective.
Yes.
True digital organization and AI mastery is not about downloading whatever new app trended on social media this morning. It's about establishing unglamorous, highly effective, repeatable systems. It's about taking a tool with a closed, corpus-like NotebookLM, feeding it your own gritty, real-world business documents, and creating a workflow that allows you to operate with clarity instead of panic.
The objective is to stop being a reactive consumer of technology and to become the director of it. You build the environment and you let the AI manage the friction of execution.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on everything we've explored today about the mechanics of these systems.
Okay.
If we successfully offload all of our tedious organizing, our cross-document summarizing, and our gap finding to a second brain, how might that fundamentally alter the way our first brain operates?
Oh, that is the philosophical frontier of all this productivity.
Right. If we no longer have to burn cognitive calories holding all those scattered variables in our working memory, what happens to us? Does relying on an AI to connect the dots and find the patterns weaken our own natural capacity for creative synthesis?
Does our mental muscle atrophy?
Yeah, does it atrophy? Or does clearing out the junk drawer of our minds so completely finally elevate us? Does it free us to stop managing the mess and start focusing entirely on pure, unadulterated innovation?
It really forces us to ask what we intend to do with all this cognitive space we're basically buying back.
It's the difference between organizing the kitchen and actually cooking the meal.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Tomorrow morning, when you sit down at your desk, don't try to boil the ocean. Don't reorganize your entire hard drive. Pick just one tool, one simple scheduling prompt, and give it 10 minutes. We'll see you next time.